you've reached my review of the 2013 remake of The Evil Dead, directed by Fede Alvarez, or Fede Alvarez. I say remake, but this guy takes only the most essential components of the original film and then drapes completely his own story over it, inserts completely his own characters. In fact, I completely forgot when I was watching this that it was meant to be a remake. And you could pretend that it's just another sequel, an Evil Dead 4, as long as you're prepared to accept that there could be more than one cabin in the woods out there with a Necronomicon buried in the cellar. It's possible. And we do see 3 of the things in the one scene in Army of Darkness. And there's more than enough silliness spread throughout this series on the whole for it not to be too much of a stretch that there could be more than one Book of the Dead. The devil does work in infuriating ways, as they say, or they might say. Now, a couple of disclaimers. Firstly, there will be spoilers in this review. Secondly, the version of the film I watched was the extended cut. When I went on eBay to get this the other week, I spotted the extended version and I thought, oh, I'll have that version. It'll get me a more complete version of the film. But it turns out there's only about 4 minutes of added footage. It's mostly extra gore shots, things like that. There's one completely new scene which plays during the end credits, and it's quite an important one, actually. I'm surprised they left it out. I'll also say that this is a brilliant transfer. It felt like I was watching a 4K. I don't know if that's on all versions of the film or whether they just did some touching up for the extended cut, but I felt like I'd had laser eye surgery watching this film. It was so clear. The story sees these 5 friends/siblings going to this cabin in the woods, but it's not for rest and relaxation. It turns out one of their number, Mia, has quite a bad drug habit, and it's hoped that this stay in the woods will help her go cold turkey, get clean, but unfortunately she's not 100% committed in her own mind to going through with this, so it doesn't feel like more than 5 minutes have passed before she's getting the sweats, begging the others to take her into town so she can get a hit. But they don't want to do that. They've been here before with Mia, and they're almost unanimous this time in deciding that they're going to keep her here against her will if that's what it takes. So as you can imagine, tempers flare, and it feels like this holiday has gone to hell long before the character of Eric goes down into the cellar and accidentally unleashes this demon threat. Now, normally in a film like this, people start off happy and they're having a good time and they're shaking beer cans and going, down it, down it. And then you have this situation where everybody has to do this 180-degree U-turn from teenage ecstasy to total fear. You'll see characters going out into the bushes to make out and saying things like, oh my God, Dave's head's in a tree. Ah, this film just turned completely on its head. But in the Evil Dead remake, the characters are only really making the transition from in a bad mood and scared for Mia's life to in a bad mood and scared for all their lives. So in a funny way, it seems to put them in a better mental condition to actually fight back against this threat. All 5 of these characters make a pretty good fist of dealing with the situation when it gets hairy. And even the girl who I thought would turn out to be the sort of token ditzy eye candy at the start of the movie, it turns out to be pretty courageous in the final moments of her life, it has to be said. Despite the differences with the original, this one still retains that classic essence of action splatterhouse horror. I don't know if that's a term. If it was, it'd probably be a sub-genre. Not just action horror, action splatterhouse horror. You can't evade the enemy in this movie. It's not the Evil Dead way. You can't crawl under the floorboards and hold your breath for 30 minutes or escape into the woods. This is sort of like the movie equivalent of the video game series Doom. You can't skirt around the edges. You've got to confront the demons head on. And to make sure that those fights are always interesting, there are lots of weapons lying around. There's a shotgun with loads of shells. There's a chainsaw. There's a nail gun. The nail gun's brilliant in this film. It's like somebody typed in a password at the start of the movie for unlimited ammo. It just never runs out. I mean, you could build an entire house with this nail gun and the cartridge would not run dry. I know what you're thinking, punk. Did he fire 60 nails or only 59? I guess the question you... I like the look of the Necronomicon in this film. It's got a black bag around it now and barbed wire. It's a really cool look. And on the inside, there's all these sentences written across the incantations like, do not read these out. Put this book away. Don't do it. Please don't. And yet, despite all that, Eric goes ahead and does it anyway, which is sort of fine because, you know, we need to have a movie. And the movie itself proceeds mostly along the pattern of they'll take care of one demon or lock a demon in the cellar or something, and then another demon will come along because it turns out another one of them was infected. So they're sort of plugging one hole in the boat and then two more holes are springing up kind of thing. Towards the end, when it gets to the part where David is trying to resuscitate Mia and it seems that he can't, I thought that was the ending, and it crossed my mind, you know what, this is a sad ending, but it's been a great film. I've really enjoyed it. But it turns out, though, Mia eventually does get up and we've got this whole other chase sequence, which is absolutely brilliant. They saved the best for last, because this chase between Mia and whatever that thing is that comes out of the leaves in the ground, it's just really, really exciting. One of the most close quarter chases I've ever seen, it has to be said, with her sort of crawling between the walls and getting scraped, her knees scraped with that knife. But it's fantastic. And the final shot where she's got that chainsaw and she's just into its mouth and there's blood flying everywhere. I absolutely loved that image. I mean, it only runs for about 3 or 4 seconds, but that just sums up the movie for me, the enjoyment of the movie. Absolutely terrific. Sort of ironic that Mia arrived at this cabin to confront her demons almost and ends up confronting actual demons. Maybe that's the point of the movie all along, and it's just taken me this many minutes of talking about it to come to the clear realization. But you could almost have had it that at the moment that David resuscitates her, she suddenly wakes up from this really long hallucination and everybody's still alive. It turns out she's just been imagining the whole ordeal when she's been having the shakes and having nightmares almost. I mean, usually I'm like everybody else in that I hate it when somebody at the end of a story will go, oh, it was only a dream. But in this instance, you could have got away with it. I mean, I'm glad they didn't take that route, because I'm curious to see what Mia could do in a sequel, potentially, if they involve her. There has been one announced. It'll be called Evil Dead Rise. That's its working title. Supposedly, it's got an urban setting. We don't know much more than that. I sort of picture that place that's used in the first Candyman movie. Is it called Frimley Green or Firmini Green? It's like a really grotty apartment complex on the outskirts of a city, and I think that could be a good place for an Evil Dead movie, but that's for another day. Now, I did mention this extra scene in the extended cut that plays during the end credits. If you want to know what that's about, if you've not seen the extended version, I'll quickly tell you that basically we see Mia arrive out onto this road and this car stops. She's really struggling at this point because her arm's been bleeding for a long time. I don't think she cauterizes it. At that point where the car lands on her hand, I thought she would walk up to the cabin, which is burning at this point, and quickly put a hand into the fire somehow and cauterize it. But I don't think she does that. So she gets to the road, collapses pretty much. This guy dumps her in the back and drives off. And just before we fade to black, she does this thing with her eyes where she goes... And for a moment, I thought, oh, God, she's not a demon, is she? And then I thought, well, actually, there's no colour in her eyes, so maybe she's just flashing her eyes open as if she's trying to stay away. It's basically the director trying to mess with you, you know, trying to make you think, is she a demon, is she not? But I come down on the side that she's not a demon. Right, anyway, I know I really enjoyed this film, but what does the bag of terror say? Lots fell out. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5 bloody axes out of 5 for the Evil Dead remake. That is a super score. It just falls short of the 5 bloody axe masterpiece rating that the original film got, but I possibly enjoy this one a little bit more. I'm not sure, but I'm always likely to give the original film that came up with the idea a better score, if you see what I mean. But despite that, I probably put the two films side by side pretty much. Now, I've no plans to review the Ash vs Evil Dead TV series because I've finished all the movies now. My review series is complete for this, but I'm not really doing TV shows at the moment. There's so many movies that I want to move on to, different franchises and stuff, possibly in the future, but just not now. I will tell you, though, that while I was waiting for my Evil Dead remake DVD to turn up, I did watch a bit of the Ash vs Evil Dead Season 1 just out of curiosity and to pass a bit of time, and it's really, really good. It seems to have a decent budget. The effects are brilliant whenever they're shooting demons and what have you. And it's got Bruce Campbell back as Ash, as a middle-aged man, so it's a lot of fun. And if you're desperately needing some more Evil Dead action, by all means, go and check that series out. I think it ran for 3 seasons. It's got 30 episodes in it, and I'm personally planning on carrying on with it and having a good time with it. Right, there's no pin for the horror locations map today, so I will be back soon for another movie review. Until next time, I will see you. Bye-bye.